Hello everybody, my name is Adere and welcome back to day 11 of learning HTML. So this class we're going to be discussing HTML forms, so let's get straight into it. So what is an HTML form? Well, an HTML form is just a form written in HTML. We also call an HTML form a web form, this being because HTML is the language of the web. HTML forms or forms can serve multiple purposes or many different purposes for different web pages. It is an online page in HTML form that usually takes and stores a user's input in some type of database. So this might not be clear now, but hopefully you get clear with some of the next slides. So what is a database? We used that word last slide. Well, a database is a place where data is stored, and if we remember, data is essentially just information. A database is a system that manages and determines. A database system is a system, or sorry, I'll just repeat that. A database system is a system that manages and determines the function of the database. With a database, the collection of data is usually stored and organized in a way that allows it to be easily accessible. So here's an example of like a real life database slash form. Kind of compare it. So I guess I'll say it ahead of time. The student in this case is equal to the user. The teacher is equal to the database system, and the teacher's cabinet is the database. So a school quiz is the example. So it takes in the student's input. In this case, this is math quiz. It takes in the student's answers. It might be multiple choice. It might be text for what they think the answer is. And yeah, so typically once it's filled out, the student submits it to the teacher. So you give the teacher your test and tell her you've completed it. And yeah, so now from there, the teacher is the one who goes and stores it in her cabinet or wherever she keeps her work. So she's the one who stores it because she knows how it needs to be organized, and then whenever she wants to go look at it in the future, she knows the way she organized it, and she can easily find your quiz to give it back to you. So yeah, that's kind of an example of a database and form in the real world. So here's an example of another form. This is a real life form, a form we might fill out on paper. In this case, this is an application for employment. This is just a random one I found online. So in this case, we're giving, it's collecting the user's input, and it's collecting many types of inputs. It's collecting their name, their last name, their personal address, their permanent address, phone numbers, and all of just like that type of information. It's just collecting a lot of input. And yeah, this is a real life form, something we would like fill out with paper and pen. Okay, so here's like an HTML or web form example. This is a sign up form. This is for Facebook's page, by the way. So yeah, this is kind of what it looks like on the web. And this one, we're also filling out our first name and last name, except of course it's not asking for too much personal information about us because we're not applying for really something. We're just signing up quickly. So yeah, where it's collecting the user's input as well. Okay. So if that already didn't make it clear, there are many types of forms. Here are just a few examples. There are contact forms to contact someone. There are billing forms for where you put in your billing information so you can get billed for something. There are sign-up forms where you sign up for platforms like Facebook was an example. There are application forms. That was kind of like the employment form. There are shipment request forms to get something shipped to you. And there are contract and agreement forms for where you have to agree to something and sign it. Okay, so now we're going to get into writing the code in HTML. So it's pretty simple. So we use the form element and the form tag in HTML to define a form. The form tag, once again, it defines a form between its opening and closing tags. Okay, so here's where we start actually learning the important tags. So the input tag, it is used to take the user's input. These are the fields we see on the forms for when it asks us to enter in our first and last name and things like that. So yeah, the input tag specifies an input field where the user can enter data, and the input tag is the most important form element. Okay, So with the input tag, we need an attribute. The name of the attribute is the type attribute. The type attribute specifies the type of input element to display. If the type attribute is not specified, the default type is text. If the value of the type attribute is not specified, the default type is text. The value of the type attribute can be text, password, checkbox, submit, and many others. So this might not be clear already, but we're going to have some visuals to go along with this. So here's kind of what it looks like. So here's like the simplest version of the input tag being used with the type attribute. In this case, we put text in between the quotations, so text is the value. And in this case, it creates an input field. Of course, it starts as empty, and then we can type in it ourselves with our keyboard, and yeah, we can fill it out with text. So that's what it does. Okay, so the next value for the type attribute we're discussing is the password attribute. So what this does is that pretty much allows you to type text again, but since it's a password, it displays as these black dots. The reason being so that if somebody's beside you, they can't see your password if you don't want them to. So yeah, it displays the same way empty, except now when you're typing in your text, it hides it as black periods, I guess you'd say. So yeah, once again, we would be able to type in here. So hopefully you're kind of getting the concept of what the type attribute does. And once again, the input is literally just to create this input field right here. Okay, so now we're using checkboxes. I've decided to create 2 checkboxes just to, I guess, make it more easy to understand. So something I need to mention is that outside of the input tag, the text we're seeing is pretty much just text outside of the tag. That's pretty much what it is. I just put it beside there just to basically create labels. So there are many different ways you can create labels for the checkbox, but yeah, this is just the simplest way I found it to be. So yeah, now we, the user, are able to checkbox to check what applies to us. So in this case, I would check boy because I'm a male. Okay, so now we are looking at the input type submit. And then for this one, we also need another attribute called value. So we're pretty much only using this attribute to have text on top of our submit button. So we pretty much just created a button here. So now we would be able to press done and possibly have it lead to another page. So we could create a link that this would lead to, or we could create some type of modal that pops up just to confirm that we have submitted our form. So yeah, the value done just determines what text is being displayed. The value is its own HTML attribute once again, and make sure you don't mix it up with the value of an HTML attribute. So the value of an HTML attribute in this case would be done, and then the value attribute is what comes before the equal sign value. Okay. So now we are using the placeholder attribute. There's not much to say about this. What the placeholder attribute does is that it's basically creating a title for your input field so you don't have to put labels on the outside. So you can kind of tell how this text within the input field is shaded out. This text is actually not there. This is just what appears when you first see it, and you can easily type over this. So this is called a placeholder, and then the value is whatever you want the placeholder to say. And once again, I've just chosen the type text, and we can type text over it. Okay, so here's pretty much what the code looks like. I've created a little bit harder of a form. This is not using CSS, of course. But yeah, so this is just if you wanted to see what you could kind of do with it. So I've created a food shipment request form. I've used a bunch of input types. I've used mostly text for the first name, last name, country, street, address. And I've made some check boxes for what types of foods you want to order. And then I've used the submit type for you to place your food request. So once again, in that value, I typed what I want to appear on top of this button, I guess you could call it. Okay, so that's actually all for this class. I hope you learned something new. And yeah, here's the homework that was assigned for this class in the live session. You can visit the live session if you want. And yeah, so yeah, if you have any questions, you can join me in the next live session. That's on learningwithme.org. And yeah, I'll talk to you hopefully next class, or I'll hear from you next class. Okay, I hope you learned something new, and this is Adere signing out.